Hi everyone, it's Sherry from Twitter Painted with Paper, and I'm here today with a interactive card tutorial for you for La La Land Crafts. This card features this cute little peekaboo element to it. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm starting off with a piece of 5 by 5 inch white cardstock. I'm just using some painter's tape to tape it down. And the layer, or the stencil that I'm using is the Summer is Here layering stencil, and some broken china distress oxide. I'm very lightly applying the distress oxide. It actually looks a little bit darker in real life. On camera it is coming up lighter, but still I didn't want it to be really the main focal point of the card, so I kept it kind of light and airy, I guess you might say. And with the stencil, I'm flipping it over and putting one side down and the other side up so I can get some variation in my clouds, because I don't want them all just lined up on top of each other. This is a lot more interesting with them kind of at different angles. And I even went down further on that than I needed to, but I wanted to be safe. So now I'm just inking the edges. Gives it a bit of a more finished look to me. And if I can get the piece up, I will then clean up my workspace, which is just going to be with a little bit of water and a towel. Make sure it's dry before I go any further. And now I'm using the Stitched Clouds border die, and I placed one die a little bit higher up on the card. This piece of paper, by the way, is 5 by 5 also. And it's a sturdier, heavier weight cardstock. I think it's probably 100 pound, but I wanted it to be nice and sturdy. Again, one's higher up than the other, and this is why, because I'm going to want it to be higher in the background than it is in the front. And I ran them through the die cutting machine and just separating them. And you can see how they line up, not directly in front of each other. And let's see, now I'm going to work on my rainbow. So I cut the rainbow with the stitched rainbow die, and I used seven different colors of cardstock. You could use 5 pieces instead of all 7, but I thought it was fun, so I kept going, and I used sort of non-traditional colors. When you're finished with this, you're going to have a bunch of different pieces of rainbows, and I think it's fun to kind of mix and match them and not necessarily have them go in the correct rainbow order, so you would have 7 different cards that you could put together after that, which is nice for mass producing. So I wanted to also show you real quick how I separated those pieces with the scissors. There's just a little kind of piece of the paper connecting them on each end, and it just takes a little bit of snip, and they're separated. Okay, so now I'm going to use this first layer of clouds to determine where I want my rainbow placed, and I just cut this white one out just for placement ideas. So that looks right, and now I'll take a pencil and just kind of lightly sketch where I want the rainbow to begin, and then one little arc on the small side of the rainbow. And then I will start with my smallest piece, which is the darker pink. I will be using liquid adhesive to adhere this. It's got a fine tip applicator, which is also nice for intricate die cuts, but also nice for smaller, skinnier ones like this. And then we're going to use lavender or violet. Still looks right. And blue. Kind of a sky blue. And And then a bright green. Followed by yellow. This is like a rainbow in reverse here. Just brushing off all the little bits off of the die cuts. And now we have orange. And follow that up with light pink. And I'm going to turn it over and cut off the end, but then I realize, oops, the pink is on top of the orange. Let me fix that real quick. And there we go, just simple. To just snip that off. And now I can adhere that white cloud layer. Again, just liquid adhesive. You could use a tape runner here. But you'll see why I didn't use a tape runner for me, personally, just for me. I line it up, looks good, then I'm going to pick it up, and eventually I'm going to pick it up, and then, oh, it's not layered correctly anymore, so, okay, Sherry, let's get this right. Much better. All right. Now, I have this cute little unicorn, and he's from the What's the Scoop clear stamp set. There's 4 unicorns included in that set, and they have ice creams and different treats, but this one doesn't, so I'm using him for the rainbow. And this takes a little bit of fiddling back and forth. He's going to go up and down on a bit of a swivel, kind of a, we'll use an acrylic piece of acetate as our arm. And this is a 1/2 inch by 5 inches. It's quite a bit longer than we're going to end up needing, but it's better to start too long so I can always cut it off. And I will use just a tape runner here. Something that I didn't do, and I should have, is after I get this adhered, there's a little bit of stickiness to it that is on the outside of this strip. And I should have used a powder tool to remove the stickiness. It ended up being fine, but you may want to do that when you make your card. And again, just placing the first cloud layer down to determine where I want him to end up. So he can't go any lower than that, or he has to be, I'm sorry, to hide the top of his head, he has to be below the clouds. So I'm going to have to do a bit of unicorn surgery. I know, it's tragic. And first I will use a hole punch and just punch through all those layers. And I'm going to use a very tiny little fastener. I think you can use a larger one, but this is what I happen to have on hand. This is what I've made 3 of these cards, and this is what I use, is the tiny one. And flip it over and just, there we go. So he's going up and down very nicely. Now comes the scary part. So that looks right to me. It's going up and down. And I know that I'm going to have enough of his head above the clouds when he's peeking out. So I'm going to take a pencil and just sketch along the bottom of the card where I need to perform the unicorn surgery. And this is the scary part because it's so final. So always go a little bit further than you think you'll need. And then you can always correct it later. Can't add more on, but you can certainly take more off. So there he is. And I can still see his horn and ears sticking out there. So I think I'll end up just doing a little bit more. Just a sliver. Okay, and then this is the hard part, at least for me, and that is we're going to use foam tape to prevent him from going up too high and to prevent him from going too low. So it just takes a lot of fiddling around to determine where exactly that foam tape needs to be placed. And I'm doubling up on my foam tape because I want this to have enough height so nothing interferes with the mechanism. Going to place it right next to that acrylic piece. That's how high up he's going to go. I mean, I think that's cute already. So placing that piece of adhesive right there. That looks good. And then on the left side, since it's his ear that sticks out the furthest when he's going down like that, that's where the foam tape is going to stop the ear from going down any further. And now I'm going to just pop this layer up with more foam tape. And again, I'm going to double it up so that it isn't interfering with anything. So I'm going to add the foam tape to the corners. This is where the heavy cardstock comes in hand. Because it's not flimsy, I don't really need to use a ton of the foam tape because it's sturdy enough with just the amount that I'm using. And then I'll use some more in the right-hand corner also. Again, I don't want to interfere with that mechanism going up and down. Gonna struggle here for a minute. My fingernails do not come in handy sometimes. How about you? Okay, so I've added my foam tape and going to make sure that's lined up. I'm not pressing down too hard yet, so I can move it around if I need to, and looks good. Perfect. And now we're going to put our card together. So I have the sun, and the sun was cut with the stitched sun and clouds die. All of these are, by the way, from La La Land Crafts. There's lots and lots of elements that you can get at La La Land Crafts for these fun cards. Adding the liquid adhesive, way more than I probably need. And I just think that's super cute. It works better when it's on the card, actually. So now I'm going to assemble. Oh, no, I'm not. Now I'm going to put hello down. So the hello I cut out of the same colors as I did the rainbow, so they all match. And starting with the H for hello, I'm just using the bottom of the card to line everything up and eyeballing the rest. Trying to make sure I've got the right amount between the letters. Okay. Testing one more time. And this is a piece of 5.5 by 11 inch piece of Kraft Cardstock. I scored it at 5.5 inches and folded it over. And then the next piece is 5.25 by 5.25. Putting that down first. More liquid adhesive. You heard me say it earlier, but I really like that liquid adhesive gives me time to correct any mistakes that I might make along the way. So now I am adding a couple little gemstones. see which ones are going to cooperate with me. There's a large one. Oh, does not want to stay down there. You know, sometimes that sticky tool's not sticky enough, and then today it's too sticky. So, okay, and then a little one for the other side. Not that one. All right, that is it. And now I just need to trim off this piece of acrylic or acetate. I just trimmed it a little bit longer than the card. And it works really well. So I am very happy with that. And I hope I've inspired you to give it a try. I would love to see what you make. Don't forget to share it in the La La Land Crafts group on Facebook. Thank you so very much for stopping by today. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.